So the classic answer should have been, it depends. Classic answer is it depends. Depends on what situation you are indicating to. If it is the Bhagavad Gita itself, then it is by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. If it is the entire Mahabharata, then it is Vyasa to Lord Ganesha. So there are many such.
It could also be Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra.
I am coming to that. But while the war was happening, there was a war correspondent, a live reporter, first live reporter, who had a wireless van. No, it was not a LAN, but it was a WAN, wide area network. So he had that vision to. Yeah, it was a wireless satellite connection. Okay. So he got a live report to Dhritarashtra, and he was the one who was explaining this entire Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra. So there are these many sets of speakers and listeners. When did this Mahabharata occur in Mahabharata text? When did this Bhagavad Gita occur in Mahabharata? Okay, it happened in the battlefield. It is in the commencement of the war that Bhagavad Gita started. Now here is the twist to the story. Though Lord had given this message to Arjuna just before the war could break, like if today morning was the war, just before the sunrise, he had started giving this discourse or this message to Arjuna. But then when you look into Mahabharata, by the way, do you know how many shlokas in Mahabharata? 1 lakh, 100,000 shlokas. So in this Mahabharata, when you go through the text, on the first day you don't find Bhagavad Gita mentioned. You don't find it there. It is on the 10th day. Now what is the significance of this 10th day? The 9th day evening, Bhishma is put down on bed of arrows by Arjuna. And that is when Dhritarashtra finds out that his live reporter Sanjaya has not reported to him something of a very critical importance and has edited it. See, even in journalism and they edit certain information because of its sensitivity. So Sanjaya very diligently avoided explaining what happened just before the war broke. Just a couple of minutes before the war broke, he avoided that entire scene. Dhritarashtra, though blind, was a very shrewd person. Very shrewd. As we see that those who are blind, their other senses work extremely efficient. So we find that Dhritarashtra's intellect was very sharp and shrewd. So he asked Sanjaya, when we get to the first shloka of Bhagavad Gita, then we will look into the details. So he asked Sanjaya, and that's the only question that he asks. So it is my conclusion, that is not how Bhagavad Gita says or Mahabharata says, that after probably, this is my experience also, that once I start delivering the lecture, there are a couple of them who are deeply engrossed. So probably Dhritarashtra totally switched himself off. He did not pay attention to. So Dhritarashtra asks a specific question because he had a strategy in his mind. So, in order to understand this strategy, we have to understand the story. I know most of us know the story, but I am trying to bring in some key strategic points. Dhritarashtra had two more brothers. Who are they? Pandu and Vidurji. You can say half brothers. Okay, half brothers. So, Dhritarashtra was the oldest of them. But being blind, in the olden days, the rule was that if you have any physical deformity, you are not qualified to be the ruler, the king. So, since Dhritarashtra was born blind, the opportunity was then given to the next in line, which was Pandu. But somewhere deep in his heart, it had disturbed him. Dhritarashtra was very disturbed with the fact that this entire kingdom was supposed to belong to me. And after great struggle, he did not have children. So, then even though there was something born from the womb of Gandhari, it was a lump of meat. I mean, it does not say that it is a stillborn baby. I have referred to the shlokas there. It says lump of meat. So, then Vyas Maharaj is called. He says, do you have a solution? He then divides this lump of meat into 100 pots and nurtures them outside the womb. Presently, probably the technology we have is cultivate a seed outside and then put it in the womb. This is much ahead than that. That is cultured and which is raised, nurtured and raised in a pot, a earthen pot. So, after having distributed the lump of meat into 100 pots, there was one little small piece left. So, he put it into a smaller pot. So, the Kauravas or the Dhartarashtra, the one born to Dhritarashtra, were 101 kids. 100 we know are the sons, and the small lump was the girl whose name was Suschala, but because of her behavior she was called like the others Duschala. You know, the original name of Duryodhana is Suyodhana, his brother Sushyasana, but then because of their crooked behavior, the entire community, entire kingdom started calling them as Duryodhana and Dushyasana. That is how we remember them today. So, right since their birth, it was this Dhritarashtra who brainwashed these kids that though it was my right to be the king, I lost the opportunity. Just because I lost the opportunity, you do not have to miss out on being the next king in line. One way or the other, make sure that you become the king. And Gandhari's brother was another key factor who added in. He is Shakuni. Did I share my deep contemplative thought as to why cops are called Mamu? Historically, we have two Mamus in Mahabharata. One is Kansa Mama and the second one is Shakuni Mama, and the third one is Cop Mama. I have seen length and breadth of India that they are called Mamus. Anyway, coming to the serious note, and Shakuni also helped Dhritarashtra strategize various levels, various plans to infuse it into these kids a deep hatred towards their cousins born to Pandu, whom we recognize as Pandavas. Both Dhritarashtra and Pandu belong to Kuru Vamsha. Hence, therefore, all of them are Kauravas. But when there was an internal war to segregate, to separate, those who were with the kingdom were called the Kauravas. They were the Dhritarashtra's sons. Those who were righteously fighting for it were the sons of Pandu, so they were called the Pandavas. So, right from the young age, they tried every which way to jeopardize the Pandava unity, and their strategy was attack one at a time. And the strongest one of them was Bhima. So, they had planned many times. In fact, he was once poisoned. But the poison was not enough to kill him, but it just knocked him out. And they threw him, thinking that he was dead, they threw him into the river. There he goes into the Nagaloka, coming back 1,000 times stronger than he was. So, all these various plans of Kauravas helped the Pandavas become more strong than they were before. So, there were many such situations, ups and downs, where Kauravas were constantly put through very hard situations. Finally, they decide that we stand for Dharma Yuddha. Dharma Yuddha, the technical meaning is, when we have tried all other methods and when they fail, when you wage for your own dharma, it is not that you are snatching something, for your own dharma when you are waging a war, that is when it is called Dharma Yuddha. So, they said we are calling for a Dharma Yuddha. And they started gathering armies. I would call that as the first Maha War, World War. Why do I say so? There were 18 battalions of armies involved, total. In each battalion, there were 250,000 men. I am not giving the count of the other creatures like animals, horses, elephants, camel. I am not giving a count of them. I am just talking of human presence. There were 250,000 people in one battalion. Yes. Who is that? You just turned it off? Okay. So, there were 250,000 people in one battalion. So, 250,000 times 18. How many people in that war? 4.5 million people. Do you know how many were left? Handful. Just a handful were left. All the Kauravas were killed. Do you know who killed the maximum Kauravas and how many? Okay, Bhima killed the maximum. How many did he kill? No. 99. One who shifted from the Kaurava army to the Pandava army was killed by Shakuni. So, Bhima lost the chance to make it a century. So, 99 brothers Bhima alone killed. So, Dhritarashtra understood this, that he evaluated his army strength, his children's strength and the supporters' strength, and also evaluated the strength of Pandavas. In those days, the ranking system was, Maharathi, Ardharathi, Rathi, Sarathi. So, this was a ranking system. Now, what we call today as the lieutenant and various brigadier or whatever. So, in those days, this was the ranking system. So, who is a Maharathi? Maharathi is a person who can protect himself, his chariot, the horses of that chariot, anywhere between 2 to 16 horses. That is where the horsepower you add on. So, there were 2 to 16 horses. Arjuna's chariot had 4. So, 4 horsepower vehicle, and he has to protect the Sarathi who is driving the chariot. So, he is enough here to protect, plus he has to protect all the 250,000 people in his battalion, their vehicles or whatever is the means of their transport. It was the sole responsibility of this one individual, and those who were qualified for that, they were tested. Those who were qualified for that were called Maharathi. Those who could protect half of this battalion were called the Ardharathi. Those who could protect just their vehicle were called the Rathi. Those who could protect only the horses or the vehicle that they were traveling on were called the Sarathi. So, these are the various levels of ranking. So, Dhritarashtra evaluated both strengths. There were many Maharathis on the Kaurava army, many, almost 3 times more than the Pandava army. But Pandava's strength was these 5 of them. The second one, who is Bhima, was sufficient enough for all these Maharathis put together. Bhima was alone sufficient in comparison to the entire Maharathis. But the Kaurava army had an asset which Pandavas did not have, which was Bhishma. Pandava army, on the other hand, had an asset, and who alone could withstand the war strategy from Bhishma was Arjuna. Now, of these 5 brothers, look at the calculations that Dhritarashtra had done. Of all these 5 brothers, the most independent was Arjuna. The most independent, because he had won many wars, he had waged, he had done many independent things which the brothers had preferred to do in group. He was the only one who had done in individual success. So, his rating was very high, and he was the ace archer in that time who could really challenge Bhishma. And if Bhishma's protection, and he was the firewall for the entire Kaurava army, and Bhishma also took a vow. What was the vow? I will not let the Pandavas crack in to our army, but I will not kill them. I will not kill the Pandavas. In Hindi there is a saying wherein it is a purposeless effort. You don't allow them to touch you and you don't kill them, then it's a stalemate. Where do you move forward to? And in 18 days of war, 9 days was protected by Bhishma alone. And imagine that old man's strength, awesome warrior. And who can challenge him? Only Arjuna could challenge him. So, what did this Dhritarashtra do? He strategized a plan. He created a plan to psychologically break this Arjuna, systematically break this Arjuna down, so that he will not be in a position to be at his full, at his best. And when he is not at his best, Kaurava army is protected because Bhishma is not challenged. On the 9th day, Bhishma falls to Arjuna's arrows. So, the whole night Dhritarashtra did not sleep, sleepless in Hastinapur. In the morning of the 10th day, he asks, "Hey Sanjaya, this should not have happened. My strategy was flawless. But if this has happened, there is something more which should have happened, which you have not communicated to me." So, what was that strategy? What happened then? We will see next week. I mean, I learnt it from the TV, a dark alley, somebody walking suddenly falls down. You see a silhouette of a person with a dripping knife, and then I said, next week, same time, same place. So I just took that narration from there. So now we will. How many of you are clear as to what is the process of study group once we divide you into different? Pretty good. Because with so many hands, those who are not very clear will be clear because there are that many of them in each group. Yes.
Our group was told that we're not meeting downstairs in the kitchen area.
Why so?
Fourth grade wanted to use the kitchen for practice, so we would like a swap. So whoever was meeting in the kitchen, if y'all can let me see if they are still.
Okay, that will be really cramped space here. Instead, you can use the bookstore. Oh, you already decided? Okay, which group is that? First group, Chinmaya? So, Chinmaya group was here, right? On the stage? Down. Who was on the stage? Okay. So, since Chinmaya group has moved out, because I know that space will not be sufficient for 20 people, I would like you to collect here. What group is yours? Vyasa. So, Vyasa group will meet here, and then you can go back to your kitchen area next week. Louder. Okay. How many of you are new who have not joined earlier? Wow. Please stand up. You are outstanding. Okay, all the group leads, we had given you a task of jotting down all the names, their email numbers, the phone numbers, and forward it to Shambhu Mantaji. And he says that we have 5 groups here in this session, 6 groups. So he got only 4 from the first session. There are 2 more which have to be sent. Okay, that is 1. So send it today evening. Who is the second group? Technically, you have met the requirements. Okay, now those who are standing, we are not going by your last names because it will be difficult. All Guptas, Reddys, and they will be in one team. So we are going by your first name. So Chinmaya group, your alphabets were from A to C. कहाँ पे बिठाऊंगा मैं? Suggestion is valid, but where will I put them? You are lobbying? Okay. How many of you are standing? 22? Wow. Point taken. I can make the group of their own, but where will I find space for them? Is the temple taken? क्या मजा, बच्चे जा सकते हैं, बड़े नहीं.
We'll just audit them.
Wait.
We'll just audit these groups.
Oh, you will audit these groups. Well, I am the official auditor and there is nobody in my team. Nobody in my team. I am one man army. Okay. Yes, you all can join as one group, and lobby is a good solution for you. The lobby area. You just have to transport some chairs from down, and then once you are done, stack them up so that it's not in the way for the second session, the next session, which is walking in. Okay, that will also be a problem, logistical nightmare. Is there anybody using this classroom? The 12 members, right? Okay, these 4th graders will move down, so you can use this room. Push them out. Push them out then. That's okay. I need a team lead in this group. I need a team lead in this group. Yes, sir. You wanted to be a support, right? So all that I want you to do is take a white paper and pen, jot down everybody's name. That's the spirit. But it's not to me. It is to Sambhu Mantaji, whose email ID is on the contacts list here. He is one of the board members. So all that you have to do is white paper, serial number, name, phone numbers, valid phone numbers which will not go to your voicemails, which will reach you.
Fortunately, half the group's numbers I already have, so at least I know they won't be putting the wrong.
So the last one would be your email IDs. So you have this pattern and forward it to Sambhu Mantaji. Sandipani. Sandipani was a rishi who taught Lord Krishna. So Sandipani. 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 So you will meet in this classroom. And your name? Tejas is the person that you have to catch hold on to. Okay. So your text for discussion would be self unfoldment. The books are available. As I said, they are limited, but they are there. You can read not just 4 pages, but the entire chapter. Come prepared for the chapter, 4 of you at a time, and then discuss. Every last week of the month, last Sunday of the month, whatever are the outstanding questions or something which did not have a qualified ending, so we will bring it as a discussion or question answers here. Write it down. The group leads in each session write down those questions which have to have clarification, and we will have question answer session here, right? So we disperse to individual classrooms. All the best.